and manganese in it. We've seen that in the sediments, we've seen it on other rocks, and I suspect that's what we're looking at here. And because the seawater can't hold so many ions, it becomes saturated and supersaturated with those ions, and so they precipitate out of the solution, out of the water, and molecule by molecule encrust whatever's available, in this case the sediment floor, and create a pavement. Whether or not that's what we're seeing, you can't always tell from a field view. Only on closer inspection, but likely that at least that manganese iron crust is a large part of what we're seeing here. You can certainly see the tabular nature of these. These may just be mudstones that are better indurated or squeeze the water out, but probably they could very well be limestones or mudstones that just have this coating on them. What we saw 3 days ago on the first dive is that the rocks, as soon as we touched them, they broke apart. So those were not fully lithified. They hadn't been fully cemented together, the particles. This could be the same type of rock, but they've been lithified. So these could be lithified mudstones, true rock, that have a coating of this manganese iron crust. Again, we won't know until we have a fresh exposed surface, and you can only get that from breaking it open. It's certainly lithified, whatever it is. It's not going to crumble to our touch.
Thank you. Where are we going?
All right. I think we should really start heading up. Don't you think, Cheryl?
Yeah, we have a lot of ground to cover. It's just hard to stop because there's so many great things to see. But
hard to not stop. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
I think you might be mistaken.
So we're going to start heading up this steeper slope. Our multi-beam sonar profiles of this area indicate that we have as much as a 30-degree slope, which we haven't seen on any of our dives yet. So
watch, ladies, this is pilot. You don't want to stop for any more zooms right now? You want to start moving? Is that?
We could definitely take some zooms without settling down. Can you do a zoom while we're still slowly moving? Or
it's not going to be as good, but I mean, we can do some.
Maybe we can take a quick look, and then if from the chat room or we see something of interest, we can stop and take a closer look.
Okay, I'll just kind of keep moving forward until you guys shout out something you really want to see.
Okay.
Great. Yeah, we're seeing multiples of things that we've zoomed on already, except for the sponges. So we might want to zoom on. There's a sponge on the right side that might be good to take a look at. The white sponge.
Right side. In relation to the lasers, where are we looking?
Directly right, a little bit above.
Directly right.
At least I
right
think
here.
That's a sponge. Yeah.
Okay. It's kind of blending in for me.
There's a big anemone.
I'm going to go ahead and bring Sirius back to 275.
At least I think that's a sponge. It's much more white than the background.
It's quite a rugged landscape, isn't it?
It is. Hey, video, let's go ahead and see what this is. It is not a...
Oh, but it's sediment.
Not a sponge.
So bioturbated, I imagine.
Yes, probably.
Somebody recently dug this out, so it's brighter than their...
Yeah, and that's interesting because it gives you an idea
I don't
how
think they're super interested here.
The sediment that's on top that we're viewing is slightly coated with that iron oxide, so it's a little browner.
Are you talking to me?
An organism is digging down below and pulling up the sediment that hasn't been exposed.
How about this yellow guy, watch leads?
Yes, let's take a look at this up here. Thanks.
Copy that.
You can see that there's sort of a sediment coating on top of these rocks. They've been exposed for a long time.
I'm really curious about the pink organism on the left side, on the top of the rock.
We can stop there,
and
too.
there's more on the right. That might be our first
Let's go ahead and
scleractinian coral.
video.
So we have lots of hermit crabs, and this looks like dead coral. So scleractinian hard coral is what made this. So this is
a good
exciting.
sign.
Yeah. We have
First we've
hydroids growing on the base of what used to be some kind of an octocoral, and a shrimp sitting on top of the sponge. And then if we can pan right a little bit at some point, there's what I imagine might be Selenosmilia.
Right over here?
Yes, correct.
Ah.
There it is. Yes.
Excellent.
So this is a species that
It's a whole
we
lot
find in greater abundance below 1,000 meters. Similar appearance corals, such as Lophelia pertusa, occur at slightly shallower depths, still about 800 meters, at least in this part of the world, although their depth range does exceed that in some places. But yeah, this looks like Selenosmilia, and there's also a cup coral on the top right, and that structure that the cup coral is on is dead skeleton from probably Selenosmilia. And as you can tell, that dead skeleton makes a really great habitat for a lot of other species. That's exciting.
Nav, it looks like 265 will be following the harder return.
It looks like a lot of hydroids here are the feathery
265.
things that you see.
On the dead stalks, yeah.
We want to come out a little bit. I think there's some other stuff over in this direction. I wasn't sure. Oh, no.
Yeah, we have another Storopathes on the rock to the right. And just
and
for
a series of sponges on the rock just beyond
yeah.
us. Maybe we could take a look at that.
Sponges in, this back rock, yeah,
Yeah,
sure.
it's a whole colony.
And we'll zoom on these, and then we'll get flying again. How about that?
That's great.
For another 5 meters.
What a dive. This is awesome.
I know.
And so for some perspective, there are 16 known black corals in the southeast region here, and we've seen at least 3 of them in our first 20 minutes of this dive, half hour of this dive. So
go ahead, RV now.
Yeah, can we get a ship move, please?
Sure.
We'll do 20 meters, bearing 265 degrees, speed decimal 2.
Okay, 20
and
meters
just to
and
repeat
265,
that, that was our first scleractinian coral that we've seen today, especially, but I think the whole cruise actually.
Yes, I haven't seen. I don't recall seeing any, certainly.
And that's Selenosmilia.
Okay, let's do a
So
zoom
that
video,
is
and I'll try to center up on
structure-forming colonial coral. It's actually closely related to Lophelia pertusa that I'm sure we will see plenty of in upcoming dives.
There you go.
But it is a species that generally occurs deeper, so below 1,000 meters or so. And there's a general change of species around that depth, 1,000 to 1,200 meters, where you see similar types of organisms, but totally different species. And it probably corresponds to the different water masses that they live in. Those shallower will be influenced by the Gulf Stream. And then as we've been, our dives so far, this expedition have all been more deep. So the western undercurrent, boundary current.
Watch leads, was there more interest in this? Or should we find?
I'm actually waiting to hear from Scott France, who had suggested we look at the sponges, but he has a slight delay in his feed, so.
Copy that.
I imagine we're going to see more. So
yeah,
because
I think that's the undulating form that we saw earlier, too. So
yeah,
maybe
how about
it is a sponge.
Pick up and try to find some down the way a little bit?
Yeah, maybe we should
All
retract the video so we don't see so much.
Oh, there's a large.
Oh my gosh.
Large
something else to see here?
Coral in the background here.
Let's go check it out.
I don't know if it's still alive. It doesn't look
We definitely need to make our way to the top of this ridge because that's where the currents would be covering.
Yeah, so this coral looks like it's not very lively anymore. Looks like there's an anemone growing on it, the large one in the center. And there's another one behind it.
Probably be okay to zoom from this distance.
Okay. I don't know how stable it will be.
We have a Stichopathes
I think they'll probably want to look at the creatures
coral,
on
the
it more
orange
than the
one
coral.
that's coming towards us.
I'm just going to go ahead and land.
And looks like a Venus flytrap anemone, and then maybe a Galatheid is the...
Just be careful when you're backing up.
Yeah, it
You
looks
have
like a very
rock
interesting...
formation directly
Is that a
behind
crab? I can't even
Copy
tell.
that.
Scott
Looks
France
to be a very
thinks it might
spiny
be a
crab.
bamboo
Yeah,
coral.
go ahead. Go ahead, video.
Okay. Definitely
At
not
least from a
alive.
distance.
Wow.
Yes,
Wow,
it is.
that
You can
is
hit lasers, too.
amazing. It is beautiful.
And the coral is a bamboo.
Lasers
You can
off,
see
please.
the
you. Lasers coming off.
segments.
Yeah. Yeah, he's
That's
missing
beautiful.
Ooh,
one of
he
his
is.
legs, a third leg. One.
No, I think
Wow.
he's got them all. Is he? Oh,
No,
I see.
that one,
that's
yeah,
right there.
Yeah, I see. Oh, I see. You can actually see where it was.
Look at that current going by, too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Scott France
Great
suggested this is Neolithodes, and I would totally agree. So he has,
Oh,
it's a
almost got something.
decapod, but he
South
only
just went
has
by too, I think.
four
I'm
pairs
paying
of
up.
walking legs, so there's a
Tilt up a little
modified pair that's probably curled up underneath.
That looks like a good photo.
I'm certain that no one is going to want to take
Just
a
little
bite of
more
that.
tilt showing his clamp onto the stalk.
Yeah, that's great. Thanks, video.
So you're getting an indication of the current here. And as we rise up this relatively steep slope,
Going
we should
for full
encounter more
image.
and more and hopefully see more diverse and more abundance in the fauna.
Great. I'm sure we got a little bit of swing,
ROV
huh?
nav bridge move complete.
And you notice
Shall we
hydroids
look at
growing
the other
on
one
the
video?
skeleton of
Okay.
this bamboo coral. And
Probably
you
don't
can
have to
see
come
that
out
the
all the
bamboo
way.
coral is called that, because of
Gotcha there at
it's a
56.
white skeleton with
You got plenty of
proteinaceous
That's a copy.
black or brown
Keep me
bands. You can
posted,
see
'cause
that
I'll
really
be
well in the
Focus on
skeleton
this guy for a
here.
little bit.
And that looks like a Venus
The Venus
flytrap
That's,
anemone.
that's good coloring.
And then a hermit
It's
crab on
beautiful.
the right. So you can see even when the coral itself is no longer alive, it's still creating the habitat that may last for a long, long time.
You see why they need that hard
looks
rock.
cool.
Yeah.
It's interesting because this rock is so much harder and doesn't break apart, and we're seeing much greater diversity. It may not just be a function of the depth. It might just be a function of that substrate.
Mm-hmm. Wow, that's a beautiful shot of the
It
anemone.
really is beautiful. Can we pan just to the left slightly, or is that
We can.
okay? Just to get the full.
Let me know about how much.
Just there is great.
Oh,
Oh,
okay.
yeah. And
It's
maybe
beautiful.
out just a little to get more of the whole.
When video's ready, we can definitely come out a little bit.
That's excellent. Beautiful.
Really shows off the current here.
You see a barnacle on the back stalk there.
Anything else you want on this one particular video?
No, I think that's great. There's another coral just behind to the right.
Okay, whenever
If we
you're
could-
ready.
there's some
And also,
some
as
organism
you
growing
continue
on the
rotating
coral
to your
skeleton.
fourth,
If we
be
could just take a
careful.
look at
You
that
have
real
that
quick.
Yeah.
rocky feature directly behind you, so don't back up too much.
Quite a beautiful little
Copy that.
scene here with all the Stichopathes,
I'm gonna
black
come up anyway.
corals.
There was something else they said? Something behind it?
Straight, right in the middle of the view.
Oh, okay, the one in the background a little bit?
Yeah.
Correct.
Let me go
yeah.
forward just a little bit.
Yeah,
I'm
it's
in a
little out of the
kind of in a
light.
valley.
And the
little
coral
tiny
we were
valley.
just looking at might be the bamboo coral
Actually, I'm going to get a different view
keratoisis.
from it. I'm going to go around the other side.
I'd be there at 70. Still everything
Yeah,
looks
I'm
fine.
just going to come around here anyway. Just because I want to practice. I'm trying to get a back view of this one, okay, watch leads?
It looks like maybe another Venus flytrap, do you think?
Yeah,
Just keep an
looks
eye on
like
my
it.
tether and the
So,
swing arm. It
if
should be
that's the
fine.
case, maybe we should just keep going on.
Copy that.
You want to do a quick zoom
A
then,
quick
video?
zoom,
Quick
yeah.
zoom, yeah. Thank you.
You should see the top of this guy to see what type
Maybe
of coral it
retracted.
used to be.
Yeah,
Eating.
that shape almost
Digesting.
looks like Metallogorgia, where they have all of the polyps all at the top. But
You know, rise as you continue to
Scott
turn.
France agrees that that was
You mean you just want
probably
to
a
see the top, right?
Metallogorgia
Yeah.
Okay,
before it died.
I'll back up instead.
You're totally
The
rubbing
coral,
it
but
The coral.
Yep.
That's
Yeah, so
That's
that little
a Venus flytrap anemone on the bottom.
right.
Okay,
Okay.
it's clear.
Okay, we good watch leads?
Yes.
Very good.
All right.
Thank you very much.
All right,
All
spinning
right.
back.
Head up slope.
That's a good perspective of
That looks
the
good.
slope here too.
Ah, it's gorgeous.
There's a living one ahead.
Gotta
Oh,
love those
yeah.
Now
rocks.
I'm turned around. I'm gonna.
That might be a
Turn
living
back video and
Metallogorgia
continue
in the
on.
distance there. And then some more Selenismilia is the coral to the bottom center now. Yes,
Excellent.
Selenismilia.
If you're planning on pushing it a little bit, we could probably get another 20-meter move in.
I'm fine with that. What was the last one? 2.6 something.
265.
Oh, here you go. Look at this. More stuff.
Oh, we
yeah,
have another
I go with a
Set of rocks here, and then
260.
another coral. And that sediment there looks kind of newly turbated also.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm actually gonna. I'll start over here and go to the left. 'Cause
This
there
looks like
is
a coral we haven't seen before, maybe. There,
Are you talking about the one on the far right here?
the
The straight
center,
one?
Go ahead.
straight ahead. That looks like
Should
another
move, please.
black coral.
Not the
20
dark one.
meters, bearing 260 degrees, speed decimal 2.
Yeah, you can tilt
20
up to
meters,
keep me in
bearing
if you
260,
want.
speed decimal 2.
Look at that.
This is a
So which one do we want to look at first here?
How about the white one in the middle?
Sure.
Got you there at 45.
That's perfect.
Beautiful.
Okay, video. Let's start in, and I will stabilize for you.
Selenismilia.
Where do you want to look on it first?
Or
If we could
bridge
just
move
kind of
initiated.
scan it a little bit. So we have a brittle star. Oh, I'm not sure what this... So Scott France said this is a Thuarella
Come back here.
primnoid coral. From a distance, I thought it was a black coral. So this is
Shall we
definitely
see
one
what
we
we
haven't
get with
seen
the extra
before.
lights?
We can try it.
Yeah,
it might
sure.
be slightly out of the
A
pool,
brittle
but
star.
Yeah, give it a shot.
Okay, bring on the forward lights now.
Yeah, so
great
Thuarella.
shot of the brittle star.
Yeah, that's gorgeous.
I think it looked better without him.
I didn't notice a difference.
Yeah.
Good.
Let's knock those back off.
Forward lights coming off now.
Yep. Oh yeah. I like
Wow,
that.
that's beautiful.
Look at that little guy at the base too.
Yep, cup coral. You want to go see that?
Can we pan down here? Watch leads. Ready to see this
Sure,
part of
yeah,
it?
we want to see
Okay.
the base of it as
Actually,
well.
it looks like the cup coral's on the backside.
The base is coming into view. There you go.
Great. You can see a broken stalk on the right. And how that's become encrusted.
Yeah, every little bit.
Hmm.
Did we want to see the coral on the right as
Yes,
well?
please.
All right, video. Whenever you're ready, let's come
What
out.
about that black one straight ahead? Slight tilt up.
Right there.
Do
Yeah,
we
the
wanna get
black
lasers
coral
on
right
the first
behind
one that we
this
just looked at?
Thuarella.
Yeah, we'll do that on the way out.
Copy that.
That's about the best I can image of that.
Yeah, let's come out and we'll get the lasers on it real quick.
Good. Lasers on.
Watch lead here's for identification, sizing. And I'm gonna.
And the
Great.
black coral behind this white one looks like Heteropathes. Heteropathes americana, potentially. And then we have another black coral, the long, tall, reddish one. And then yet another is the branched one in between, which is, I think, that's Storopathes.
I have you there at 60.
Perfect. All right, let's come on in.
But for the short one or the tall one?
I was going for the tall one here. Oh, I think I kicked up a little dirt.
Oh, and there we have our
bridge move complete.
Europtychus. So the
Copy
associate that is found with the species we just saw this a little while ago.
My dust filter's maxed out now.
That's okay. Yeah, I kicked up a bunch when I ran my toe in there.
You have a little bit of space if you want to spin around to the port to get on have the current coming at you.
Yeah, I might do that.
You actually have a lot of space. Just be careful that feature rises up.
Yeah, I'm gonna actually.
So this
I'm
is
gonna
a
use
Periantipathes that we're looking at. So I don't know if Peter is still on the line, but would a collection of the Thuarella be of interest?
Oh, look at the little bushy one in the back while they discuss.
I have you there at 72.
Here's a Storopathes.
Partial.
Watch these. Am I hearing any interest in collections?
I've been trying to see in the chat room, everybody's chatting about what species are here, but nobody is responding to me about whether we should make a collection. No, the Heteropathes was the long, yeah, the one before it.
Let's come wide video.
I thought that this
We'll
was
get a
the
decision
Storopathes, but I
and
could
move
be
on.
wrong. It looks a little bit different. No, the
I have you there at 90.
one.
Okay, we should be coming to a stop here.
Okay, if we could set up pilots, this is watch one.
Go ahead.
If we could take a small piece of the largest white coral with
There's
the
a small flare
little
in
star on it.
The main
Are you talking to this guy that's here?
Yes,
upper
that
right
one
corner.
right
Okay,
there.
just a small piece of, like maybe the top there.
Yeah, that would be great. Thank you.
Okay.
Yep. Sounds like we're moving it soon, so we should be able to prep that better.
You want to ramp up my hydraulics and get ready?
Yep. Okay. Hydraulics are ramped up.
So remind me where the floaty guys are. They're all in the.
They're all in the port outer.
Port outer.
Okay, so we're gonna want to put this on the starboard.
I think it depends on if it's floaty or not. I feel like when we opened it for the second sample, the first floaty stayed pretty well.
Thuarella.
Okay. Yeah, I'd rather put it in the port inner if I can anyway. All right, let's plan on doing port inner.
Port inner.
Yep. How do you look on sliding out? Are we gonna have to move? No, I mean for the boxes.
We may be able to sneak over that It's the starboard side that I'm thinking that we may run into that.
Okay,
upper
we'll
lip.
watch it. We'll watch it. I can always move.
All right, copy that.
So we're setting
Definitely
up for
from
a
the
sample of a
Port
snip of
manip,
this
starboard manip. It
coral
looks like
in
your
front of us.
port
If
side's
you've just
touching.
joined us, we are
You said
on
I'm spun
dive
up, correct?
4
You are spun up
of
and ready to
the
go.
Okeanos
Okay.
Explorer Windows to the Deep expedition. We're currently at a water depth of about 1,308 meters. And we're at the base of a relatively steep slope for this region with rock outcrops.
Oh, it's jumpy.
We haven't made much headway on this dive because there's been so much to see. It's been really exciting for us.
Yeah, I think we're up to 5 or 6 species of black corals.
So, yep, didn't lock. So watch leads. In relation to what you're seeing here, how much more or less would you like?
That looks really good. Thank
Okay.
you.
I'm too far. Get in there. Get in there. Oh boy. There it is. Okay. All right.
Ready to extend the drawer?
I'm ready.
And we're going into the port bio box.
Correct.
Coming out slowly. Keep an eye on that starboard side.
Boy, that is really just not locking, is it? Okay. Pressed it a little bit too long there. Yeah, I am.
Oh,
There we go. Ready?
fully extended.
Okay.
And this is port inner.
Yes.
You want to tilt HD2 for a better shot?
I will take Mises for you. Okay, retracting drawer.
Okay.
Okay, we just have a
That's so weird.
Excellent.
very nice sample of a Thuarella primnoid octocoral.
And if you would follow me around real quick on the mini.
I believe this is the first octocoral that we've seen today. All the rest have been black corals, but they've been quite numerous and diverse.
Okay. We're secure.
And a scleractinian. Can you kind of review for us what the differences are among those
I'll send
groups?
her back up to
Yeah,
Mises.
so
That we
the,
could understand,
that
I
is
mean.
touchy. That is touchy.
the scleractinians are actually
What was
more
that?
closely related to the black
I'm just gonna
corals than
send
they
her
are
back
to
up to Mises.
octocorals.
Got
They're
that.
both
Thanks.
hexacorals. And the scleractinians create a calcium carbonate or aragonite skeleton.
Attempt to.
They can either be solitary cup corals, and we will see many of those throughout the dives, I'm sure, or they can be colonial. And the Selenosmilia that we just saw
Wrap it
is
down
the
HDU.
most common colonial scleractinian at this depth range. And you can see, we saw previously, even the dead skeleton of the stony corals will remain for a long, long time and create habitat for other organisms.
Great job, co-pilot. Thanks.
The other...
and we call them as a group the stony corals.
The stony corals would be the common name.
And we'll see a lot of those on future dives.
Correct.
On the edges of the continental
shelf.
There at 90,
as we move into depth ranges more 400 to 700 meters, we'll see Lophelia pertusa and Analipsamia profunda will be the most common scleractinians that we'll see. But this Selenosmilia is kind of the deeper cousin of those two. They're all fairly closely related. Well, Analipsamia is not closely related, but Lophelia and Selenosmilia are fairly closely related. Pilots, there was a coral to the left that we just went past. Could we take a quick look at that?
Sure.
Yeah, that looks different to me. Maybe another black coral on the right, but yeah, that looks like another Selenosmilia is the taller one. And the coral in the middle, I'm not sure about.
Go ahead, video.
Is that possibly the bubblegum coral?
Wow. But yeah, it is kind of Acanella-like. See if it's definitely an octocoral. Tina says Bathypathes and Corallium? No. Oh yeah, the Corallium would be this one, and the Bathypathes
is to the right. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, so this could be a Corallium. And I haven't seen that many Corallium alive in my experiences.
Shows a lot of color possible.
So this Corallium is growing on the skeleton of a scleractinian coral, Selenosmilia.
Should clear out here in just
so
a second.
So it is an octocoral?
Yes,
Looks
this
like
is an octocoral.
I saw the 8 tentacles.
Yep.
So we've got 3 different coral types, or 3 different coral groups right in a row here.
Yes.
That's great.
Scleractinian on the left, octocoral in the middle, and then black coral on the right.
Yes.
And what's in the background?
That looks like another black coral. I don't know if that's Storopathes again. Oh, that's amazing.
This is Stephanie Bush from the Smithsonian, by the way, trying to pretend I know my corals.
Well, you know a lot more than I do.
I know you knew to count the tentacles on the polyps for octocorals.
Well, yeah, that was a dead giveaway.
Not for most geologists.
I would not have considered us imaging that well yet.
Okay, go ahead.
Dust looks like it's going away now.
Yep.
Taking off lasers.
So, Tina commented that there's actually a Phanthopathidae in this.
Yeah, I saw it lower. I think what she's talking about, it was lower in this coral. Video, could we just pan down slowly?
There's also a...
Oh, sorry.
Pilot, this is watch 1.
Go ahead, watch 1.
If you can pan down and maybe then zoom out a little bit so we can get an idea of the other corals around this area.
Okay. It'll be a combo move video.
Yes.
Do you want me to pan up slowly or anything? What's good for you?
You can start peeling the screen now.
Okay.
Get good color contrast.
Okay, I'm going to try to dial it in real slow. Yeah, it's as slow as I can tilt right now.
There you go.
How's that?
Go ahead, watch lead. That's good.
Okay.
Okay, video's going wide.
Okay.
And there is a cup coral right underneath the Selenosmelia on the left. You can see it's more pink colored. That might be a Desmophyllum.
Video, is that pink guy over?
Yeah, near the yellow.
Yeah, let me try.
I'm going to toss the lasers back on.
Sure, go ahead.
Yeah, you can see that cup coral now right in the center of the view.
We'll probably lose lasers here in just a second anyway.
And a beautiful sponge on the left there.
This is like something you'd see at the aquarium where everything is in one viewing
Give it a
window.
shot video before I
This is
pick up too much
amazing.
dirt.
Yeah, I was just thinking this is quite the menagerie we've got going on right now.
Oh, and there's is that a scale worm there on the left?
Over on the left.
We have crinoids just underneath this cup coral.
And there's a dead cup coral right next to, or right to the right of the live cup coral.
Yep. And it looks like that one actually grew out of another individual. This looks like Desmophyllum.
This is all, you know, different organisms piling on top of each other to reach the current, reach the food coming by in the current. So they just grow on top of each other.
You want me to just come off of it too, video, like keep going?
Yeah, I guess just keep going.
Oh, we have a hermit crab on the left. I'm trying to figure out what is to the right of the hermit crab.
Yeah, that's a good question.
I don't know if it's a polychaete of some type.
Perhaps.
It could.
As I do this, I might kick up more and more dirt with that right toe.
And Les Watling just commented that this type of aggregation is similar to what they see on the western end of the New England seamount chain. Gosh, it's just gorgeous. There's so much life with that sponge.
Yeah, the yellow sponge.
Yeah, that's one that I don't think we've seen so far.
Did we want to take a zoom on that?
Sure.
Do I hear we want to look back in on this yellow sponge?
The yellow sponge, please.
Copy that. Yep, video whenever you're ready.
Gosh, that's gorgeous.
Here.
You have plenty of room to continue rotating to your starboard.
Thanks. I'm kind of worried about my toe kicking up dirt, though, if I do anymore.
Yep. It'll be going right into the current.
It's beautiful.
Yeah. Right across.
Yeah, so Leslie, given the color of the dead coral, does that give you an idea of how long this has been in place?
I wouldn't say we could figure out how long, but it certainly has been a while. It doesn't happen overnight, and the thicker the crust, the longer it has been dead, for sure. I think just as easily you could determine it by how much growth of life there is, although probably
where is it?
The incrustation takes longer than population by organisms.
I think the forward lights are near. You could try it, but I think it's closer than this image is.
I think so too.
Forward lights coming on.
Pilot, when we zoom away, maybe we should turn on the lasers so we can get a feel for the size of this whole area.
Yep.
Video is clear.
Okay. You want me to take the lights off?
Lights clear.
Right. Forward lights coming off. Lights are off.
Lasers on.
Lasers coming back on.
Hey, video.
Lasers are on.
Can we also pull up the still real quick? Small ones.
I actually took a couple stills already.
Oh, you already did? Okay.
I mean, I took them a couple minutes ago.
Yeah, I got it on right now.
Thanks, Pilot.
Okay. Still on.
I just want to see from the screen if we can see anything.
Second. Give me a monitor number. 12.
I think Jeff's on it over here on this little one. So
what we've been seeing right here in this space is just an amazing example of how coral creates habitat for other organisms, both when it's alive and when it's dead.
It's a lot brighter now.
And the more that we look, the more that we zoom in, we see all these small organisms that are living in every little space that they can off the seafloor. And that's one of the reasons why these coral areas are worth protecting and so important to the marine ecosystem here, is that compared to the sedimented areas, we have such a concentration of life at these coral, dead and live coral areas, and if this were to be swept away or taken up in a net, it wouldn't just be the coral that is gone, but all of these other species that are using this as habitat. And honestly, I wasn't expecting to see scleractinian corals. We didn't on the North Blake Ridge. We didn't see this kind of habitat. We did see rocks. We did see a lot of octocorals and sponges, but we didn't see scleractinian stony corals. So this is just an amazing habitat here that we're observing today.
The information we needed here, so I think we're good on that.
Clear the still, clear the lights.
Okay, lights are coming off. Still camera coming off.
Don't know what you had in that monitor before.
We had tail cam. Oh, yeah, go ahead, watch one. We sure can.
This coming up looks like a species that we haven't seen before today.
Brilliant color.
It's a very dark object behind that yellow.
Yeah.
So it's interesting in shallow corals, their coloration is from their algal symbionts.
Look at that.
Octopus.
Oh,
look.
Awesome. I was hoping that's what that was. Was that the dumpling squid?
Nice. Yeah, dumpling squid.
That is awesome.
Finally. Good, because it's cephalopod week this week.
That's true. He had to represent.
Yes.
That is awesome.
It really is.
Can you tell us a little bit about these?
Wow.
Yeah, so these are actually, they're a group of squid. Most squid, of course, live their lives in the water column. But these dumpling squid live down here, mostly sitting on the sediment. Most of them are able to bury at least partly or fully in the sediment with just their eyes sticking out, in which case, of course, it's really hard to spot them unless you can pick out their eyes. And some species also produce a mucus coat that they coat their body with so that the sediment will stick to them, which is an additional way that they can camouflage while they sit and wait for something tasty to come by, like a shrimp or something. That would be one of their favorite foods.
I saw one of these in Savannah banks over a decade ago, and just the eyes were sticking out, and I had no idea what it was. And so he poked it a little bit, and then it came out, and yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
It looks like the little stalked sponge right behind it.
Yeah.
And then possibly a little baby octocoral behind that.
Let's get a medium shot.
Stephanie, is that a siphon just below his eye? Is that how
exactly.
he gets his propulsion along with
Yes. So all cephalopods have a siphon or funnel, and so they take in water around. So the main body compartment, what you see on the left behind the eyes, that's called the mantle.
Pull out, show the coral.
While it's fused on the head up there by the eyes, all around the rest of the mantle, it's open, and they take in water, that mantle. They have gills inside the mantle. That's how they get oxygen. And then the water gets forced out of that siphon, and that's how they are able to propel themselves backwards. And this type of squid, obviously, they're spending most of their time as a sit and wait predator, so they're not using that to jet backwards on a regular basis. Pretty much the only time or reason they would use that as a defensive maneuver to get away from a potential predator.
Now if my zoom would cooperate. Tilt to get the coral.
That was a great find.
So Stephanie, how big do these guys get?
That's a great question. I'm actually not very familiar with the species that occur in the deep, or this part of the deep sea. Can actually...
So do we want to...
Violet, can we turn on the lasers?
Sure.
Hey, Mike.
Hi. I can't. I'm on my cell phone, so I can't watch and talk at the same time. But so I don't know if you pointed this out, but that the Okeanos you guys are looking at looks an awful lot like the one that Nautilus saw.
Do we want to
2
get
years ago
a different
in the Eastern
angle on this?
Pacific? The one they were
If you
calling
have
the
an angle to
googly-eyed
get
squid.
between the eyes, that would be good.
Oh, of the octopus?
Yeah.
We can try.
Yeah, so Mac Becchione is pointing out that it looks very similar. This sepiolid squid looks very similar
like,
to
265
individual
still the
that was
direction to
observed
go up.
in the Pacific.
20?
Yeah, the thing that I think is remarkable about it is, I tend to call those Rossia, but all of the Rossia that I've looked at that are known have distinct chromatophores, and you can see the individual chromatophores. And on this one, when I had it up on my
get him right
my
to the
screen,
edge of the skids.
it looked like the one that Nautilus saw, which
this is where I'm probably going to be
you
kicking
can't
up
see
dirt.
the
Oh, there he
individual
goes.
It's swimming
Later.
away now. Sorry to
He's
interrupt
gone.
you, Mike. We were just seeing, as we picked up the ROV,
All right.
we
let's keep moving.
disturbed the
just
squid.
swim back in front of you if you tilt
Yeah,
down.
but you're right.
it's
It didn't look like there was
Landed in the
distinct
sediment in HC2.
chromatophores, which are the organs in the skin of cephalopods that allow them to change color.
Time to move. I've been informed.
so there are a couple of species of Rossia that are found at this
265.
depth.
Copy.
But I'm not sure that this is one of them, actually. We've seen some of them
Different
on
fish.
earlier Okeanos dives when
fish?
they were working on
All right, let's go
along the
ahead.
east coast of the U.S.
Okay.
But I didn't see any
Nice fish.
that had this appearance before.
How about this on the back? Same fish?
Nice, so that could
Similar.
be a new observation for this area.
265.
That's really exciting, Mike.
And I think it's interesting that it looks so much
Those
like
front lights still on, or are
the
they
googly-eyed
down
one from
They are not.
the Eastern
ahead, RV
Pacific.
Nav.
Yeah, exactly. They do look
20 meters.
they're
Bearing
very
265
similar to
degrees,
each other.
speed
Same
decimal
coloration,
2
same
knots.
size
Okay, 2
eyes
meters, bearing 265,
relative to the
speed
body
decimal 2 coming
size.
up. So, Mike, is this a squid that you would
Got you
expect
there
to
at
see
40
in this
degrees.
region?
Copy that.
Well, I wouldn't be surprised to see a fairly large sepiolid like this, a bobtail squid. But like I said, the ones that I would expect to see are in the genus Rossia.
Let's go.
And usually when we see those, and we've seen
ROV
several
Nav,
from
bridge move
Okeanos,
initiated.
usually when we see those, they don't have the same coloration as this one does. Now, that could be that we just haven't watched enough of them alive for long enough to see them change their appearance, which they're capable of doing. So it's hard to answer that question without having a specimen in hand. This looks different from the Rossia that I've seen before in the western Atlantic, and looks very, very much like this one that we saw from Nautilus a couple of years ago in the eastern Pacific.
Thanks, Mike.
White object next to that white
Okay, I'm
rib.
going to hang up and go
pink
back
object
to
hanging
actually
in
watching
the air.
the video.
Great. Thanks for joining us, Mike.
Yeah, thanks.
Not
Good to
seeing
hear
what
from
we're
you.
talking about.
Right
And
edge of
just-
the screen.
Just to point out that
Whip hanging
yellow
off to the
coral
right of
that
the
was
rib.
behind
Oh, I see.
the
That's
the
anchored
little
back there.
bobtail
Maybe
squid,
a dandelion.
that was most likely Analopsamia rostrata,
Yeah, we'll take a
which
quick look.
is a stony coral, and
That's the
the
right.
calyx actually has a little bit of a rostrum, or a little point at the top of each calyx, and that's
ahead,
where
you
it
can do a
gets the
quick
name
zoom here.
rostrata. Here we have another Stichopathes, and something in the water column. Oh, it's on a stalk. I don't know what that is.
Could
see where
that
it
be?
goes.
It looks sort
Right
of similar
there.
to. Okay, this is going to be way out there, but benthic siphonophore, or benthic, maybe not a ctenophore, but looks kind of like. I don't know if
Seems as
those
though
would
it
occur this
has
deep, though.
Streaming
You have
some
plenty
sort
of
of
time if you want to take a
filaments
tour.
Oh,
coming off
dandelion
of it.
siphonophore. Yeah, that's probably it. Wow, that's awesome.
So the ones I've seen in the
See that.
Pacific are in the genus Dromelia or
Filaments.
Dromelia. This is probably, I'm sure it's a different one, but yeah.
Wow, that's the first one I've
Yeah.
ever seen of that. It's awesome.
Tina's chiming in on the chat and saying
Good
yes,
spot
it's
video.
very small. So maybe
But it is a
sounds like you
siphonophore.
know that this size is atypical.
He doesn't want to stay centered, though.
Not sure. Yeah, the benthic siphonophores that I've seen have been
Let's go,
larger
back
and
down
also
the
didn't
streamer
have
again.
quite as long of a stalk, but
down.
the ones I've seen were much shallower than this. So
It's like a kite.
Yeah, it's very thin stalk.
Yeah.
Coming down.
So just for other people that don't know what a siphonophore is, the vast majority of siphonophores live in the water column. So, but there are some species that do attach to the bottom, as you are seeing here. They're colonial organisms, and they're like many, many of the other animals down here. They're feeding on animals and particulates that pass by in the water current.
Video is clear.
Great. Nice find. Oh, look.
So we have a Bathypathes behind the Stichopathes.
Want to get the lasers on real quick?
We have
lasers coming on.
Okay, I'm going to go over there. Have some time.
Yeah, we have a Venus flytrap anemone on the right, and we have Galatheids that are underneath the rocks in different places, and then we have something white in the distance here.
Like ROV bridge movement.
Maybe our first sea star of the dive.
That would be great to see. Yep.
Yeah, looks like a sea star. Go ahead, Nev. Great, thanks very much. So we've traveled 100 meters since we hit the seafloor, and we have seen so much that our progress has been rather slow today, but for very good reason. And it looks like a...
Copy that.
Is that a crinoid
that
on the right?
That looks like a crinoid, yeah.
Right in the back there?
Shrimp. And maybe an anthomastus in the lower right.
All right, video. Let's see what we can do with this.
We have a stalked crinoid right behind this sea star.
This is Goniaster, isn't it?
I thought it looked kind of like that, but...
Yeah. Those plates on the side are very familiar.
And you can see that sitting on dead scleractinian coral, probably more Selenismilia, and just in the center of the screen it looks like a dead Desmophyllum cup coral.
And a sponge beyond it on the right.
Tina would like us to take a look at the anthomastus if we have a chance.
That is just down to the lower right of this sea star.
You can see his tube feet extended on the left there.
Yeah. And then we had interest here, right?
Lower right.
Oh, not in the
next
crinoid?
to below the shrimp.
Yeah, it's the anthomastus is the right-hand lower corner.
Gotcha.
That's a very large crinoid, isn't it?
Yeah. So is anyone in the chat room able to confirm that that was a Goniaster?
We're talking about this guy right here, correct?
Sea star?
Yep, pink.
Yep.
Yep, that's an anthomastus that we're looking at now, octocoral.
Oh, that's a nice zoom.
You can see the 8 pinnate tentacles there. That's a great shot.
It is.
I'm looking down at you at 70.
Wow,
80.
gorgeous.
Copy that.
Great composition, too.
Look at that. Perfect 1/3 placement.
Is this the species or group of organisms that we saw that were in a chain?
Yes. So that was the first for me a couple days ago. Or was it yesterday or the day before? The day before, I think.
All right.
We saw anthomastus individuals kind of in a chain, and then another group in a cluster.
Let's see.
Oh, it's just a dead stock.
How about we look up here at this guy?
Wow, that shrimp is beautiful.
Yeah, we might be able to. And there's a squat lobster under the rock.
Too many things. I'm gonna move some rocks around here. Go ahead, video. We'll try to see what we can do here.
You want the lasers
wow,
off?
Beautiful.
There you go.
Coming off.
Get back here. Yep. Okay. Kicked up some dirt, and he's a little too far in to make a good shot right now.
Camera shy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But did you want to look at this too?
Sure, if we could look at that crinoid.
Yeah,
crinoid.
Go ahead.
Zoom in on that.
Lasers coming
Beautiful.
off.
Gosh, that is a very large one.
Lasers are on.
Well,
okay,
I guess it's
probably don't need them right now.
A little larger than 10 centimeters, but I have to keep reminding myself of that.
It's going into the heart.
Lasers off.
What is that blue?
Wow, that's
gorgeous.
gorgeous.
Sponge.
As you might imagine, those tentacles with all their feathery-like extensions are great at capturing food that is flowing by in the current. And that food travels its way down into the crinoid's mouth.
Okay, pulling for full screen.
And you can see its
I'm comfortable.
specialized appendages that are holding onto the rock.
What did you say, video?
Pulling for full screen.
Oh, okay.
So
Perfect.
the shrimp that we saw was either Plesiopenaeus or
Do you want to look at that blue afterwards?
Aristiopenaeus.
I haven't seen a lot of that color.
Maybe we could pan over and take a quick zoom on that blue object, Pilot.
What do you? What's your guess? Is tunicate or sponge?
Are you ready,
in the
video?
blue?
Yeah, go ahead.
I've seen blue sponge.
Your pre-zoom guesses.
Yeah.
Oh, actually, yeah. It looks spongy now that I see that.
You can see the pores.
Gosh, that's a beautiful color.
Max zoom.
Just give me a second.
It's surprising to me to see so much color variation at this depth where there's no light.
It is that.
And in the shallow waters, especially with the corals, the color is coming from their algal symbionts. Is that correct?
And there are a lot of plain white corals down here, but then there are some that have pigmentation.
Yeah.
And video's clear.
All right. Go ahead, wide.
Beautiful.
Time to
There's
move
some
ahead
more
a
of
little
it
bit.
on the rock beyond as well. Some of that blue sponge.
All right, watch this. I'm going to pop ahead just a little bit
See
here.
how the sediment layer drops off? That's probably the edge of this outcrop. We're climbing upward on this slope. The overall angle of this slope is about 30 degrees.
Yellow, probably black coral. Some flavor.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Ooh, these are interesting.
You see sort of ridges.
Did you hear that, Leslie? I said these geological features are interesting.
Look at this.
I'm not giving you any of my dessert tonight, so don't even try.
No, I'm not even being sarcastic. What do you think those like parallel features are?
They are probably just thinner layers of rock underlying that are creating this sort of terraced stair step as we move up the slope, and the sediment is draping over the edges of them.
Copy that.
Ooh,
hey, video?
Is this a Chonex?
Oh, yeah.
There's something right here.
Oh, my gosh.
Deep sea anglerfish.
Anglerfish.
Yeah.
Oh, these are cool.
Is it Chonex or
Chonex?
Chonex.
Okay.
Laser it?
Is that the red-eyed gaper?
Yeah.
Yes, we collected one of these at the Charleston
right
Bump. They are some of the most fun species of fish.
You'll see as we zoom in that they have modified fins so that they can kind of walk or waddle.
Look
you
at
see
this
they're
guy.
using it to stand or hold themselves off of the sediment a little bit.
And he's already inflated. We've seen them where they're very flat lying on the rock, and when they're disturbed, they suck in the water and inflate.
I've
and
only
he's
seen
in
them
that
like this.
position. We actually collected one, and the South Carolina Aquarium was going to have it on display, and it was in quarantine for weeks before going into the aquarium, and sadly it passed before it ever made it to the aquarium.
Oh.
But
like this guy.
And you can see right between his eyes is the lure, and he can flick that out in front of his mouth and try to entice other little creatures toward him, and then he'll just suck them up and eat them.
Let's
Pilot, could we pan a little to the right and get a full body view?
Oh,
of
absolutely.
him?
Do you want to see the lure close up as well, or?
I really like his or her.
Oh, okay, never mind. Yeah, let me center it up
the
for you
white
here.
lips.
Yeah.
Against the red body coloration. It's really cool.
Doesn't look exactly like the same species that we caught. He has a little more ornamentation, but I don't know if that's characteristic for a species or just variation within a species.